Welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. This episode of Anhar brings you a very important topic: guarding our identity. How do we guard our identity, and what is our identity? What are the threats to our identity? Is it a matter of importance for us to pursue solutions to the perceived problems related to it? To break this down, we have Dr. Ibrahim Zakaria Musa, former Vice Chancellor of Islamic University of Maldives, and we have Mazang Umar Manik. He has acquired areas of expertise in fisheries and agriculture, and he's been taking interest and leading us also in endeavor as regards research and discussions into social issues and issues that are of social importance, most importantly. So may I invite you first to kick off this conversation. The topic is guarding our identity. We are Maldivians. We are like people of other nationalities or other countries. We are also challenged by the currents that are sweeping the world. What do we mean by identity, or what are the challenges that you perceive are the threats or challenges themselves? Shall we?
Yes, I think this is a very interesting subject, and also a very good subject that we should be all thinking about for the future of the Maldives. Now, we call our nation Maldive Islands, which means it is so many islands, consisting of over 1,000 islands, of which about 200 are inhabited. Now, when we think of Maldives as a whole, being in this 21st century, let us start in the 20th century, when we first start blooming in becoming a nation of industrial developments taking place. Unfortunately, having over 1,900 islands did not have the kind of population we should have had at the start of the 20th century. If I can remember, way back when I was a schoolboy, our population was something like 100,000 or 190,000, maybe, probably. During the war, I heard somebody say we were 90,000 people. Now, from the time of the war, the last war ending, 45, to today, it's almost getting to be 100 years. Today's population is 500,000 inhabitants. This is the citizens of Maldives. Now comes the point where development starts. In any industry, you will have to have a couple of things which brings in the kind of development that we are looking at in the world today. We should have proper power, electricity. We should have proper water, drinking water. These are the basics in any industry. We should have human labor. Now, if we don't have labor, we don't have a thriving business taking place. So what happens is, when such a situation starts, we have to import labor, like all other countries do. Now, they do import labor in different ways. creating a war in somewhere, making it unable to live for the people there, then they start migrating to other places which are habitable, better than their own, which didn't happen in the Maldives. There was no wars, there was no migrations, but we had an inward migration of people coming in here to fill up the gap that is required to do the work. I'm sure my friend Zakaria would be able to add a few points into this. Now, when this happens, that our Maldivian development started with like a grasshopper. It jumped from 0 to a couple of years advanced, much more advanced than some other countries went through. So, to fill in the gaps, we brought in people, and then prices of things started going up. We have to start working more because originally we lived in long houses where the father or the grandfather, the father and the children all lived in the same compound, same place.
Right.
But that has gone because there is no more room because of the land availability being so small. We have to start building houses, and to fill those houses came people from outside. Now, coming back to the real story is that you start a family. Now, I remember when my father started his family, he had a big house and he had a lot of room, and there was more people coming from the islands who were his friends, and some people wanted their children to be educated in the Maldives and in Mali and so forth. So we had people of our own race and language coming into Mali. The development started in Mali, not in the atolls, as it should have been, you know. So today, the husband and wife has to work because the land is so costly, the housing is costly, food is costly, everything is costly here now. So when this happens, you start thinking of having a family. Now, to have a family, people plan. I want to have a child. Okay, you don't know whether it's going to be a boy or a girl, but then you want a child, you want a family, you want a house, and you also want somebody to take your name and go ahead when you go off, you know. So the heritage goes on. So, unfortunately, the mother has to work, the father has to work, and therefore the child who comes to this world doesn't see the real Maldivians. They see a maid from somewhere who will come to look after the child. Probably that maid doesn't understand the local language, so the language becomes a barrier, and the child starts to learn the maid's language more than the mother's language, because the mother is only with the child in the morning for 1 hour, then in the afternoon, lunchtime probably, maybe, and in the night the baby is fast asleep when the parents come home, you know. So it's always the maid who is taken care of. So when we were small, we had our parents looking after us. Okay, we had other maids around the house, there were helps, but it was the mother who was looking after. I remember my family was quite large, you know, and my mother used to be in the kitchen, but then she had 1 ear with the children, 1 eye with the children, and 1 eye in the pot that she was cooking. And she would be the first to notice that some child is having a problem, and she'll start running. Now that is a kind of a situation where the child also, knowing the mother will come, the child may scream for something or other. There be naughty children around, so these kinds of things happen. But the mother has an ear there. which is not here anymore. So who comes? That maid. The maid probably came from a neighboring country. They're quite all right people, but then the language, the way we talk to people, how we respect others, how to show respect to the elder people, these things are now gone because it was not taught by the parents. It was taught by somebody whom we paid. And most of the time, this maid is not the best maid that you can find. The best maid is always the mother.
Very well said about the losing bond between the mothers and the generation. So it will definitely affect our nation, our national identity,
right.
And it will also, we are all being witness to the eroding values before our eyes. We see these children imbibe in the values of the maids,
right.
And the values of the expatriates around them, and so this bond has to be revived.
Yeah, now, one other thing I would like to say here is that we cannot stop development. See, there are new things. Children are taught in school, and they have a brain which is developing, and they want to do something better than the rest of the guys. They want to maybe copy something that is happening in another country, developed country like Japan, Singapore, America, United Kingdom. Such places, our children go and study there, and they see much more than what the children who are studying in Mali sees. So they would like to implement those things. To implement those particular things, like, for example, take today's solar panels, energy. From the diesel engine, it has now passed over that and come into solar systems. Now, people who would like to do that, for example, would require the kind of energy, the people that is required for this work to go on being better, or maybe even manufacture these things here. Now, manufacturing comes, for example, it's a simple thing. Take the MIFCO cannery. We have the product here, but we don't have the people to put the product into cans. So we have to import people. So development is something that requires human resource, and that has to come from somewhere to build up. So we cannot, just because we have to use a maid, we cannot stop the mother from going to work. Cannot. So we have to think of a way how best we can accommodate all these things, have the maid, but the parents take time off to be with the children in their most productive times. And the child, when they grow up, there are times in the period of his growth that he picks up things and he learns things from the parents and from those who are near him.
Absolutely.
See, like, for example, we are an Islamic nation, and from the very beginning we start teaching them Arabic and Quran and these things. Now that is a time period when the child is from, let's say, 3 years to 5 years. That's the time when you start putting up these foundations, little foundations. But that is the time when the mother and the father is heavily busy elsewhere somewhere.
So we are losing the child when the child is at their most formative years.
That's right.
So their most formative years are being corrupted by this mixed.
No, I wouldn't say corrupted. No,
Isn't it corrupted?
it's not a corruption. Corruption has different meanings now. Yes, it may be. You can say corruption of the language, for example. Yes, it can be corrupted. Now, I remember I studied out of Mali and Sri Lanka. When I came back, my Divi language was not as fluent as it should be. So I was bullied by my friends for the way I spoke because my grammar was quite different. I was thinking in English and talking in Divehi, which means the grammar that came with Divehi language and the English language was completely different. So the way I translated what I thought into Divehi and I said it was the wrong way. This happens now even with our children. Now I found the letter do.
Do.
Yes.
Isn't it? Which is,
Yeah.
oh.
Now, yes,
Is it?
you would say, isn't it? But how many times you want to say, isn't it? Now, you don't have to correct what I'm saying by saying, isn't it?
As if the dog now became a part and parcel of the English language.
Yes, yeah, no, our Divehi language.
Yeah.
It has become a part of our Divehi language.
Oh,
So each time somebody says do to me, I said, I don't know. Because I cannot accept what he is saying. I cannot understand what he is saying because he had a different way of saying things. You know, it has no meaning. Do is something. There are ways to say do, yes, but I'm not so good at the language, but they still see the grammar is there, the way you talk, and how the meaning of do is there.
Yeah.
So I believe those are things that will come, and in another 20 years' time from now, what would be our Divehi language?
That's a good question. And of course, the children are losing these nuances of the language, the cultural nuances, the language, situational understanding through language, and especially sense of empathy.
Right.
How do we diagnose it? Are we diagnosing it rightly?
Yeah, Mr. Umar very rightly elaborated and explained to the audience on the particular topic that we are discussing in this program about the identity, our identity, and how this culture is developed, and what we present ourselves as a nation. Now, Mr. Umar was very rightly pointing at the development of the country, which is very a fundamental matter as a nation to present and to become a strong in front of the international arena. Now, it has to do with I believe the way how we educate our children. Most importantly, our curriculum. Does our curriculum attend fundamental matters like instilling in our children creativity, life skills, and most importantly, the entrepreneurship. These are the fundamental characteristics that require to instill and educate our children if we are to present ourselves as a nation to be identified as a very strong nation developing at the pace of the modern development. Now, do we have that kind of attitude? Do we have that kind of mentality? Do we have that kind of accommodation to bring into our whole education system by bringing those creativity and teaching our students lifelong skills and entrepreneurships. Now, the sad part is that most of our parents are more on getting numbers rather than training them on this particular area. Now, how development will emerge in a place where the whole competition is focusing on receiving numbers or top 10, top 20, top 13. And now my child acquired top 10 or top 20 in this race of achieving among the high achievers, neglecting this important area of life skills and entrepreneurships and also creativity. Now, how many of students we have passed through these areas that those who do not have even basic skills to face the their problems in their life.
Absolutely,
So we're talking about coming back to our main topic of the guardian of our culture. Now, what we mean by culture?
Our identity.
What our identity? Now, you know, the identity itself is a collection of characteristics and values, and also how we are presenting ourselves as a nation, by having a unity among us, by having presenting ourselves as law-abiding citizens who want to promote those good characteristics in our society. Now, Mr. Umar was pointing at our very important area where why our culture or identity is eroding. Because, as he very rightly mentioned, in the early days, children were raised directly by their parents, not involved in any foreign hand. But as he rightly said, now everything has changed. We don't know what is our culture and what is our identity even. We are living in a very mixed society. And now, as a Maldivian, can we proudly present ourselves as a Maldivian at this point of time?
Yes.
I would like to interject a little bit there. You know? Now, when we normally see people around, foreigners and people now, we have a lot of nationalities living even in the Maldives now. When we see somebody, we say he's from this particular country, and that person, I think, is from that particular country. It's not; they're not the same. Then we see somebody, he looks like a European to me, coming from this part of Europe. Now, when people see Maldivians today, they cannot distinguish them from some of the neighboring islands, neighboring countries. Now, we had a way, a behavioral way in Maldivians that would definitely say he's from Maldives. Mm-hmm. Now, why is that? No, that is not there anymore. Why are we going to look like I sometimes get a little bit angry when people say, are you from a neighboring country? No? And when I'm in Malaysia, they would talk to me in Malay because they think I look like a Malay, right? Probably. Maybe I look like one then. That kind of mistakes can happen. But then I would like to be identified as a Maldivian. I'm very proud to be a Maldivian. Coming from Maldives, and when I say I'm from Maldives, then people, they light up their eyes, a little bit. So that's the kind of thing I would like to have when in the Maldives, way of Maldives.
Yeah.
Because there should be respect. There should be he should not be an arrogant looking guy. He should be a simple looking guy. He should have humility.
Should preserve his dignity and
his dignity. And those are things that tells the person who that person is, coming from where. So that we are losing now. We have lost that.
Shall we come to the causes of this? The causes, how we have got to diagnose why this is happening to us.
Now, let me tell you, Mr. Zakri,
before coming to your response on this, we'll take a short break. Stay tuned. We have very important questions.
In a perfect world, fires happen, but not to you. Fire detectors in an Ajax security system. Ajax, your protection in an imperfect world.
Welcome back. We are discussing guarding our identity, the Maldivian identity. Well, what attributes are we supposed to preserve? What are the values that characterize us as Maldivians that we should try to preserve? What makes Maldivians different from? Of course, we have so much of commonalities, but then what makes us Maldivians different from our neighboring countries or the rest of the world? I mean, we are a maritime country, but are we gearing how about our system? Are our systems, education, economic, social systems gearing up to preserve these economic strengths, or are we gearing up to preserve these values? Or what are we doing about it?
No.
What can we do?
That's a very good question, because there is much to be said about this. Now, I feel now, Mr. Zakaria, the idea said about numbers, school children becoming better and better in their studies, getting high grades, better grades, being top 10. Now, if you look at the world, the richest people in the world, for example, right? Now today is supposed to be Elon Musk, right? He's supposed to be the richest man in the world, but he refused to do his doctorate because he thought it didn't matter to him. He started his own business and he did so great that he became the richest man in the world. Right. Now, where are the numbers? He didn't go for the numbers. Take Bill Gates, for example. He was not such a bright school boy. He didn't go into those high grades. But he's another very rich man, and he did his computing programs. I think the highest used program is this Bill Gates Microsoft. Now, to get into Microsoft, he didn't get the highest grades in schools. Now, then there's this, the Virgin Airline. Okay, his name.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. School dropout. Now, these are students who are so good in their brains that the teacher didn't have the capacity to teach them. So they lost interest in school. it's not that they are not so bright children, but they were very bright, over bright. They were over excellent in their brain work, that they refused to stay and listen to the teacher's explanation because they already knew.
Far ahead of their curriculum.
Far ahead of their curriculum. So now, come back to our problem here today. We have definitely gone very far ahead in our development of various areas. Today, I was just thinking the other day with a friend of mine, we were discussing about technical people not being available for us. Now, we are doing reclamation work, north, south, everywhere. Everywhere you go today, you will find a Hymac digging sand, filling up somewhere. The amount of machinery that is here today is, compared to 10 years ago, is huge. And some of them are not maintained at all because there is no people to maintain them. And if we don't create out the children that are coming out from school today, people who will go into those areas of education, like looking after, like machinery, for example, it's not going to be, we're not going to be anywhere close. Now, we were, I think, about number 2 or 3 in maritime industry, where we had so many people on ships, and we were sought out.
You had a good fleet of ships.
Apart from that, we were sought out. I mean, people wanted Maldivians crew because they were better than the rest. But today, unfortunately, we don't have that number of people anymore. But the thing is, wages are high now compared to when we were working $100 a month or $200 a month. Today, they get 6 months off, 6 months on. And they get, in that 6 months, they get enough money to last for the next 6 months as well. So that's how much. So I think we need to go back again and teach this. And also, we were very good sailors from very olden days. From the time of my grandfather's time, for example, when there was no GPS and such things, they were traveling, and Maldivians were very good sailors, reputed.
We have sensitized us as to we need to fix our affairs in the sense that there is so much a mismatch between our education system and our industries and what is required of us as Maldivians. The skill set is not there to maintain the competitiveness. We are losing competitiveness as the days go by. And what's happening? What is there to preserve in the first place?
No, actually, you know, out of these discussions that we realize that guarding, protecting our identity is very essential.
What's the most important characteristic in the first place?
Because this will, of course, preserve our dignity and our self-worthiness as well. And also, it will ensure the continuity of our culture. Will pass from generation to generation. Otherwise, there will be a gap between this generation, and that's what we feel right now. That there is a huge gap between the older generations and the younger generations, because there is no continuity between the cultures, unfortunately. Because if we want to present as a very strong nation, we have to preserve this identity and strengthen our unity as well. Because through culture, we present ourselves as one nation, and at the same time, we are saying to the world that we Maldivian are united together. But what do we see on the ground? Do you think we are a society with strongly united, or a society fragmented to various groups and circles? So these are the important matters and issues that we need to focus on and start solving this problem through schools and through our training at home, particularly at home. As Mr. Umar mentioned, in early days, the children were brought up directly at their parents' hand. But unfortunately, now all things are changed. The parents are now not present to tackle, to shoulder those responsibilities for some reasons. And therefore, there may be so many reasons why our culture is eroding day by day. For that, we need to address sooner than later.
We seem to be losing the baby with the bathwater. But the issue is, there are behavioral attributes that we need to cultivate very badly. Behavioral attributes we are losing as Maldivians. For example, we used to be very hospitable, friendly people. And I think we are very much even now.
Yeah.
We are, and tourism industry, the biggest industry, is indicative of that as well. But as a people, as one single people, how do we project the world that we are keeping pace with the developments, and at the same time we are balancing, we are playing this delicate balancing act of preserving the culture and at the same time absorbing the development and not losing on the development front.
Right. Now, children should be taught to be trustworthy. See, yes, everybody has a smile. Maldivians will always smile and say, "Uliya kume barabar, uliya kume nanar." But this is not the fact. You see, so you should be trustworthy people. To have a trustworthy people should be taught in their school. Children should be taught how to be trustworthy.
And why they should be trustworthy?
Because trust is the most important thing that makes a man a person. See, when you trust somebody with words, say, you say something to him to keep as a it's only between you and him, and those things should be kept secret. And for that, trustworthiness comes out of money as well. See, if I trust somebody and I give somebody some money and say, keep it for me for 10 days or 20 days, and if he uses that money, it's not trustworthy, man. Right? So trust in different ways. Trust, I can bank on him in the sense I can always refer him as a person of trust. That's gone. There's no more in the Maldives. So that is number one we have to start thinking about. Otherwise there is no development.
But losing on that front, are we not hurting ourselves? I mean, if I lose trustworthiness, and if you don't trust me, and the society doesn't trust me as a whole, don't I lose
faith?
No, don't I lose my sense of self-worth,
Yeah, yeah.
my identity as a whole.
Yes.
Don't I lose?
You know, when you feel that you are a proud Maldivian, right? Now you have to ask yourself, why should I be a proud Maldivian when there is no venue that has been provided or created by our role models, whether they may be political leaders or maybe the parents or teachers or those who are responsible to create that kind of environment or society so that each and everyone who are in that society feel proud to belong to that society. For that, the elders must create that kind of environment as such to make each and everyone proud to belong that society. Now, when we find in a society where all these values are being pushed aside, intolerance at the most highest level, corruption, people who are moving around do not have a strong bond that can be attached together. If you look at our marketplaces, if you look at our streets and all and everywhere, what we see and what we experience in all these things, do you feel that there are some issues that we need to address as soon as possible? Of course, in order to preserve our culture, in order to create that an environment that are to be associated with in a very proud manner, definitely we must have those ingredients in order to make each and every Maldivian feel proud.
Well, we are a maritime country, we are a seaborne country, and these are the sea, sand, and what is the 3 S? Sea, sand, and
Sun.
Sun. Yes, these are very important ingredients for economy. But then, what's wrong with the Maldivians by not being able to develop a model, an economic model where so that we have the good fortune of having a good shipping line, good airline, and so that like rest of the developed countries, we also have the fruits of development.
Right. That's a very good question. That's another area of this whole thing, Now, let me tell you, how many people do new things, completely new things?
In the Maldives?
Yes. Have anybody started a new business that anybody hasn't done? No, they didn't. Because they all copy it. You start a coffee shop, everybody wants to do a coffee shop. You start something else, they will do that, And coming from 50, 60 years ago, there used to be clubs for Nara Club, for example. Nuni Lavakia Club. Everybody started making them, Because we are not teaching our children to start thinking on their own, constructive thinking. Why do you send your child to school? Is to educate him. Only educate to read and write only? No. You want his brain to become more, he be able to use his brain in a more functional, profitable way. So, he better start thinking on his own. What can I do? What is something that I can do that others are not doing? Now, when I came into Male and started working, I was a sailor before, yes. And I wanted to retire from sailing from the age of 40 because otherwise I would be a old seaman, sea dog, they would call it. And I started thinking to myself, what shall I do now that others are not doing? Others will find it difficult for me to do, for them to do, to catch me up, So I thought to myself, I start doing something everybody didn't do, and that was export of fish, for example. I ran it for 10 years, very profitable. Nobody caught up with me. People tried, yes, but they didn't have the knowledge, because knowledge is something that you have to acquire, you have to learn. There are subjects all over, and you go to an encyclopedia, you find all the subjects there, you can learn. Today you can ask ChatGPT and it will tell you how to do things like growing a coconut tree. It will tell you how to grow a coconut tree, but can you grow? You have to do it practically and be able to do it. So that's the thing you have to think of when you start a new job. Now I remember there was a shop who was doing dondong. They called it dondong at that time. It was a bottle with a marble inside, and it had aerated water and sparkling drinks. There was a company in Male who did this. Way back.
Yes, I used to enjoy as a schoolboy.
Right. Now, he enjoyed that company for quite a long time until somebody came up with the idea of having Crown Coke and a bottle called Botello. So, you start a new thing. For example, like matchboxes. How many people want the matchbox today to light a cigarette or whatever? So those are things you have to start thinking yourself. What can I do? Something that others will buy every day.
So
that's entrepreneurship, perhaps.
It is.
That has to be taught in schools.
Because of our weak education system, where the whole focus is on to produce most obedient servants, to serve the government.
Government servants.
Government most obedient government servants. The education's aim is to produce most obedient government servants, with neglecting those entrepreneurships, those life skills, those creativity that need to be instilled in their upbringing, so that one day they become a very productive citizen who are not only looking for government jobs, rather going on their own, standing on their own feet, bringing up new innovative product to the market. Now, we don't see those kind of things happening, unfortunately, as we need to see things are happening and widening those creative areas in Maldives. Rather, I would say, if I'm not mistaken, now 80% of those who are graduating from this education system are looking and waiting for a government job.
Desk jobs, and even for the desk jobs, they are very ill prepared. This is being verified by industry. Industry veterans and industry people.
So we may say, as a nation, I don't want to, I hope I'm wrong when I say that we as a nation, we are not independent people, rather depending on others' shoulders, who are always waiting to give somebody to feed us. Rather than we struggle, we strive on our own to feed on our own.
Yes. There was a time in the Maldives that we wanted government servants. Let's go back 50 years. Go back, right. There was a time when we had only a customs office, and then we had a finance ministry which was called Bodbaderige at that time, and then there was yes, there was a post office. Yes, I remember. Right. Now, these are the three major officers that was here in the Maldives. Now, customs is required to do all the imports, exports, and check all these things. They were there. Bodbaderige is the finance ministry, of course, collects all the money and then distributes the money according to the requirement. The post office, because you had a contact with the outside world. Now, then municipality came, home ministry came, health ministry came, all these other ministries came, and people were required. Now, I'll go back to Muhammad Amin's time, when there was only 5,000 people in Mali, for example. Ships came, and to unload the ships, there was no people. And I remember people came from Kuldupuri and some Hadal, Halif places, to discharge them. And then some of these Khalifans were given land in Mali to have their houses for like 2 or 3 different from Hadal, Halif, came. And they were given a place in Mali so they can build the house, and their people will come, other people will come. But that is a time when we were just starting. Now, soon after the war, that is 1950s, 20 years after the war, right? No, even 15 years after the war, that is. Then different departments start coming, so people are required. We need clerks, we need secretaries, we need people who can do typing, and what the language has come in Latin form, we can write now. We have typewriters now. So you have to teach them. But at the same time, you cannot employ, the government cannot employ 4,000 students every year.
Yeah. We are reaching the end of the episode now. To conclude, how do we encourage, or how do we ignite or kindle the hope in the young Maldivian as to, I mean, some Maldivians are demoralized, and how do we kindle this hope in them that being a Maldivian, there is so much of promise, or there is success, or there is glory tied to it. How do we encourage them?
I think we need a lot of help from the government as well, in this kind of things. We have to start teaching
cultural education.
To use their own mind, the brain that is already waiting to be released. How best they can use their brain, their own brain.
Creativity,
yes.
Critical thinking and creativity has to be.
So we have to switch from bookish educational culture to hands-on, experience-oriented.
Yeah. And also bring in balance.
Skill-based education.
Very important to bring in balance between modernizations and tradition as well, if we are to guard in our culture.
Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim Zakaria Musa, Baza Umar. Very interesting discussion. It is enlightened us all, and I hope you viewers must have been enthused, definitely. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.